Hi, this is Julian Russell here with the third session in Taking Charge of Your Life, which is about how your self-belief will determine your success, how far you can go with your success in life. Your success in life will be determined by the level of self-belief that you have. And I've got this idea from, the concept of this talk from Lanny Bassam, who is a sports psychologist. He won an Olympic gold medal for rifle shooting and coaches a lot of different people within the Olympic business. The ideas are those in cognitive psychology and other aspects of positive psychology, but I'm going to draw on his work today. So you can only be as successful as you believe you can be. I'm going to give you some tools today to help you deal with any negative self-belief that you have. But I'm going to just give you a little warning, which is that if you have a very, very high level of negative self-belief, then you may need to do more than is in this particular video. And I'll say more about that at the end of the video today. This is a part of a series of videos. The first one was on how positive emotion makes you more successful. So how to have more positive emotion. If you've got bad stuff going on in your life, before you can really take charge of your life, you need to get emotionally resourced. In the second video, I talked about the vision for your life. What would it look like? What would it sound like? What would it feel like if you were taking charge of your life? Today is about self-belief, and tomorrow is about small steps to change your life. So let's talk about Lanny Bassam, who was a rifle shooter in the Olympics, and he thought he was going to win a gold medal, but he got nervous, and at the last minute, he got a silver medal rather than a gold medal, even though his scores prior to the Olympics were so good that he could have got an Olympic gold medal. And after that, he was absolutely devastated. And he said, getting a silver medal in the Olympics means that you're the best loser in the whole world because you've lost to the gold medalist, which of course, we could reframe that view. But anyway, he spent a number of years interviewing gold medalists and world champions in lots of different Olympic sports and came up with a model around high performance, which is pretty similar to that you will find within psychology, but it's just very nice and simple because he was teaching it to Olympic athletes and world athletes and actually to American Special Forces as well. I came across his model because I was reading a book about the American Navy SEALs sniper program, would you believe? And they referred to the program there, and then I went back and looked at it. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. All of this is in the notes that go with the program, and I really strongly suggest that you get those notes because all the points that I'm going to talk about right now are available in the notes of the program. So we're going to talk about 6 key points. And the first of the 6 key points is that you've got to focus on success. So that's why we did vision in session 2. What's the vision? How do you want your life to be? What will it look like? What will it sound like? What will it feel like? What's the plan to get there? And to focus on that. And when he's training Olympic athletes, Lanny Bassam will say, never let yourself have a negative thought about your success, about your performance, because the brain can only think of one thing at a time, and therefore if it's thinking about the positive performance, there's no room for the negative performance, and if you're thinking about the negative performance, you haven't got room to think about the positive. And of course, an Olympic sport isn't the whole of one's life. Of course, you've got specific activities like a performance activity like any sport or a work task or some project that you're working on. And the rules for managing that and managing self-belief about that are slightly different to what you have to do to have the self-belief about the whole of yourself on the whole of your life. But nevertheless, this is a good place to start. So the more you can think about, see, hear and feel what it would be like if you had taken charge of your life, the more likely it's going to happen. And of course, if you write that down, longitudinal studies, research studies show that if you write those goals down, if you write that vision down, it's more likely to happen than if you don't write it down. So that's the first principle, focus on success. And the second principle is picture what you want, which we've already talked about a little bit as well. It's not just the writing it down, it's the imagining it, it's the dreaming it, it's the seeing it. And see yourself as a person who not only has achieved what it is that you want in your life, but has got the skills and the abilities to achieve it and has done the things necessary to acquire those skills and abilities. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. It's very, very important that in goal setting, that the goal includes what it is that you have to do to get to where you want to get to. So it's not just enough, the final result isn't enough, but you also need to have what it is you have to do to get to that final result. The third principle is, we've just been talking about it as well, develop the skills you need to achieve your vision. If you want to be really great at something, if you want to be world class at something, there's research that says you need to do 10,000 hours of practice. They did some studies on violinists. I can't quite remember the precise numbers, but it's something like the following. If you go to a music academy, if you do 3,000 hours of practice, you can be a music teacher. If you do 7,000 hours of practice, you can be in an orchestra, but you need to do 10,000 hours of practice to be the first violinist. And actually, if you think about it, the soloist. If you think about it, if you've gone as far as 7,000 hours of practice, why not put in the extra 3,000 hours? You're already 2/3 of the way to being the greatest in the world or the greatest in your field. The Beatles also, when they were in Germany playing in nightclubs, did their 10,000 hours of practice. And apparently they weren't so good musically before they went to Germany. So make sure that you develop the skills that you need, go and get the training that you need to have the sort of life that you want, to create the sort of life that you want, to be in charge of your life. The fourth principle is that your self-belief will determine the result that you get. And so therefore you need to look at your self-belief and say, have I got enough self-belief that will get me the result that I want? The fifth principle is you replace disempowering beliefs with the ones that you want. And that's what we're going to do an exercise on this in a moment. So you have you identify the negative belief that you say to yourself, and then you replace it with a positive, empowering belief. Like a mantra almost, like a short sentence. We'll come to that in a moment. And then what you do is you positively reinforce yourself. Lani Bassam had various people who won the Olympics several years later write down 3 years earlier every day in their journal, I am the Olympic champion. I am the Olympic champion. So write down what the success you want, perhaps in your diary every day. You could have a training journal, that's a sort of longer conversation, but you could have a training journal that is just about what it would be like if you had achieved, if you'd taken charge of your life, if you'd achieved what it is that you want in your life. And that, in that you would have your goals. You never write negative things in that training journal. You only write down the goals and the beliefs and the things that have happened that support you on the way to achieving that goal. So you would positively predict, the future, and you would also praise yourself after you've achieved each of those steps. Now, later on in this video, I'll talk about what to do about negative feelings, but don't write them down in this particular journal. I actually have a journal when I need to have a, like cathar, when I need to have a moan. I got a specific journal for having a moan in, but it's not the journal that I use for my spiritual practice, for my personal development practice, or for my business practice. Because I've decided to use the principles that they use for training Olympic athletes in the business area of my life, and also in a more gentle way in my spiritual practice. And I have a special book which I use just when I want to have a dump, dump my negative thoughts, write out difficult feelings. So those are the 6 key principles. They're all in the manual, which you can get by clicking the link above the video. But now I want to talk a little bit more about how you change, what do we mean by a negative self-belief and how you change that. So, do you believe that you can have what you want in life? And perhaps take a piece of paper, now or, after you've watched the video, and write down, do I believe in it? What are the negative beliefs I have? Do I have any negative beliefs? And what is it that I believe about myself or my competence or what's possible in the world? What are the views that I have, the beliefs or attitudes that I have that undermine me being successful, that stop me from being happy, from having what it is that I want in my life? What are the negative attitudes that you have about yourself, or perhaps negative attitudes that you have about the world? Write those down. I can't, I'm unlovable, or I'll never get what I want, or I'm not good enough, or people never really see me, or I'm bound to fail. Write down whatever your negative belief is on one sheet of paper. And perhaps you want to pause. If you're watching in replay, you can pause this now to take time to do that. Then take another piece of paper and write down, what is a belief that is just as true or even truer? So I'm learning about how to do video on Facebook at the moment, and it's difficult. How you promote your videos on Facebook, how you do all of that, it's quite difficult, quite complicated. I've been watching a long video series and I make mistakes. So you may have noticed, for example, that the first video in this series, Taking Charge of Your Life, the lighting's not very good. And there's a reason for that, which is that when you're making videos on an iPhone, which is what I'm doing, and you have text on the screen, which goes above the video, you can't actually see yourself to check the lighting beforehand. When so yesterday what I did was I put the camera on normal video mode, like camera mode, and I looked at it that way and I checked the lighting that way. So you can, so I could have a view about, I'll never get good at Facebook video technology. I could have, sometimes think, oh my God, what am I doing this for? Am I really competent at this? So I can say, take that and turn it into a positive belief and say, I'm learning lots of lessons about how to make great Facebook videos, or I'm learning to be great at Facebook Live, or I'm learning to be great at video blogging. I'm in the process of learning to be great at video blogging. And, then I write that down and then I repeat that to myself whenever I hear the negative message. And sometimes the negative message comes for me, like it comes as, oh, you're just terrible at this, it's too hard, and you should pay someone else to do it for you. And that pay someone else to do it for you is a way of not taking action in a way. And so, or not really breaking through to the next level. And, maybe in the future I will pay someone to do it for me. But right now I want to learn how to do it so I know how to select someone to do it for me. So I'm in the process of learning how to make great Facebook videos. Or I'm learning how, you keep sort of reworking it, I'm learning how to make great webinars, digital webinars, something like that. So you write down the positive mantra, and then whenever you hear the negative words, you repeat it to yourself. You repeat the positive mantra. You write it down. You might, even if it's quite strong, you might stick it on a piece of paper on your computer or on your laptop. With Olympic athletes, Lanny Bassam has him write it on 6 small index cards, 6 of them, and post them around your house. So where would you post index cards with the positive belief, about yourself? I can find the partner I want. I'm in the process of dating people so that I can find the love of my life, you could say. Or I'm in the process of discovering what I want or don't want in a relationship so I can find the love of my life. Or having a great career. I'm learning how to have a great career by having successes and failures. Or I can learn the things that I need to do to make my career a success or my life a success. So spend some time thinking about those positive mantras, those positive beliefs that you want to have in your life. Write them down, blue tack them to your computer. I always say, write them in lipstick on the mirror of your bathroom, but your housemate may not be so keen on that. But you get the idea. Put it in lots of places where you think about it and keep reinforcing it. And every time you take a step in that direction, in the right direction, praise yourself for it. Every time you think about something that you need to do, give yourself positive coaching. I call this self-coaching. So develop a tender, kind voice in your head that says sweet things to you. That you'd say to a kid gets something wrong, and you say, "Hey, you just learn from that. Try again. Let's do it this way. Have you thought about doing this? Or have you thought about asking someone advice? Or be kind to yourself." A part of the learning process is falling over. If you look at a young child learning to walk, they fall over so often. And occasionally they bump their heads and cry for a minute. But basically they just keep getting up and getting up and getting up and getting up and getting up. It's the old boxing saying, isn't it? That's not, it's quite macho, but it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you stand back up again. But it's that, it's that try again mentality. That you keep focusing on the objective, keep learning, keep making mistakes, keep exploring, keep trying different things out in the process of installing a positive new belief. If you have a negative belief about yourself and your life, you won't do anything. So you're already making progress if you're challenging that negative belief and beginning to install positive beliefs about what's possible in your life. So that's the basic thing. Write down some of the negative beliefs you have and develop some positive beliefs that you can repeat to yourself as a replacement for the old negative beliefs. And of course, this is a short video. You could spend more time on this. Maybe if you've got a friend who's a part of your, I call it tribe, people who really believe in you and understand you and listen to you. Maybe you could talk through this negative belief, positive belief type of exercise, let them help you develop that. If you've identified this as being an issue, maybe it's good to have some coaching sessions with someone who can help you really work out, what are the beliefs that you need to have and how you could install those more fully in yourself going forward into the future. I always think, it's smart to hire an accountant or hire people to do things for you. It's smart to have a coach. It's smart to have a therapist. This idea that we should be able to do everything for ourselves is nonsense. You don't try and do your own dentistry. Why would you try and do your own, psychological healing work? Get the support that you need from a friend or from, as a part of some ongoing group or some community of people who have got supportive skills, which I call tribe, or, as a part of, with a professional, a deep coach or, a therapist. I do believe, by the way, that ongoing groups that where you work together over a period of a year, where there's peer support, where there's telephone coaching, like the Life Talent Program, which I run, is really helpful in giving us the level of support to not only create but embody and live positive beliefs. Being around other people who are doing the same thing is very, very helpful for people. And research shows that sponsorship, it's called, being around people who believe in you is really helpful in the process of installing new beliefs into oneself. And in big organizations, senior managers will sponsor junior people, will have lunch with them, will talk to them, will interact with them, a little bit of coaching light to help those junior people believe that they can be successful people in the future. Actually, the 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous, Al-Anon, which is for codependence, and all the other groups that they have the same thing, which is sponsors, people who help you believe in yourself and help you believe that you can make the changes that you want to make in your life. So, but let's talk about if your negative beliefs are really strong, because the approach that I've talked so far really works well for coaching, focusing specifically on an athletic pursuit or a particular goal that you want to achieve. But that approach may not be enough to create well-being and a sense of peace with yourself for the whole of your life. It's quite specific. And that you may have some undermining beliefs and difficult feelings from your personal history that need more than just a sort of cognitive behavioral approach to saying positive messages to yourself. So, there's sort of traditional models of therapy. Freud's model was it's all to do with your personal history. So you need to go back and find out what it was in your unconscious, in your personal history that gives you that negative belief so that you can change it in conversation with an analyst and heal it, which, is a good but long-winded approach. Then there was the humanistic psychology people, which basically said it's somatic, it's embodied, it's in your muscle structure, it's in your belly, the place where you feel the pain in your body. It's actually in your muscle structure. So therefore you need to release the emotions that are associated with that. Then came along the cognitive people who just said, hey, just change the belief, just say positive things to yourself. And there are other schools as well, such as the mindfulness school, which is a great school. If you can get to a point where you hear the negative belief and you just say, hey, that's another, that's something else that just arises in my awareness. And also there's the cognitive somatic schools that say it's not enough just to change the belief intellectually, to say the mantra of the new belief. Great to have you here, Jackie, by the way. It's great to get likes and hearts. Nice to, I can't see you, I just know that you're here from your name on the screen. It's not enough just to say the positive beliefs, you also need to do the body, you need to do the deeper emotional work. And sometimes, thank you so much, that's sweet, sometimes you can just do that on your own. You bring your wise adult mind and your warm, tender heart to that place in you from the past that was wounded or hurt and that created negative beliefs, and you give yourself a cuddle and you feel the fear or you feel the disappointment or you feel the grief. That's sweet, thank you. And you do it anyway. But learning how to do that, learning how to be a sponsor for yourself, may need the help of a professional coach, deep coach, or therapist. Someone who holds the space for you and helps you bring your wise adult mind and your warm heart to the place in your personal history, very often your childhood, where you actually first formed that negative belief. That, that it can be such small things. The mother goes to work because she hasn't got money, and the child feels abandoned and thinks it's because they're a problem. Actually, the mother's going to work to make money because she loves the child, but the child doesn't understand it that way. So the wise adult in you goes back to the past, to the emotional place in yourself, and acts as a healing agent, a healing force for the younger you, brings loving tenderness and conversation and explains in childlike language to the child in you, to change the feeling in your body. So the technique that I gave you in the first part of this video is about just the cognitive part, creating the new mantra. But for more difficult negative emotions, you need to be able to go back and heal the old feeling, and bring love and tenderness to the old feeling. And the purpose of the coach or the therapist in the initial instance is that somebody else can be that loving sponsor for you, and they teach you how to do that for yourself. Even though they teach you how to do that for yourself, actually when I've got deep emotional issues I need to work on, I go and talk to my coach. And I've got a professional supervisor who I do therapy type of work with. I've got another coach that I work with. It's great to have you on the call, Ira, as well. So great to have you here from sunny or not so sunny America. Great to have you here. So that I will go and see someone to hold the space for me when I'm dealing with a difficult emotion. It's human beings, we're relationship creatures. Even though I know how to sponsor myself, even though I know how to bring my wise adult mind and my warm heart to a difficult emotion in my body, sometimes for deep healing, I need to, it's not even need, it's helpful, it's useful, it's valuable to have someone else hold that space for me while I bring loving attention to a difficult old feeling or a difficult old belief that I have in myself. Again, talking about ongoing groups, whether it's the Life Talent Program, which is 20 days across 2018, starting in March, or whether it's somebody else's ongoing group or a therapy group, having a group of people who've learned how to hold that space for each other is incredibly powerful and important, because you learn not only from your own experience of healing, but you learn from watching and feeling and being present with the way that other people watch and heal and do their work. By the way, if you want to write any comments, if you've got any questions as I talk, feel free to, to type that on the screen. It'd be great to have that, and likes and hearts are welcome too. So I'm talking about this because there's something quite important and useful to do. I write quite a lot about this in the workbook which goes with this video. But to do a reasonably good self-diagnosis on, do I just need to create some positive belief mantras and believe in myself a little bit more? Or do I need to do deeper emotional work to heal negative beliefs in combination with the positive belief mantra? So you could say at a sort of cognitive level, you've got the new beliefs that you're repeating and installing, but also at the more emotional level, you're doing healing work there, to do those two at the same time. Where are you on that spectrum? What's the level of support you need? One way to get the answer to that is to ask yourself the question, what would my life be like if I really believed in myself? And if the gap between where you are and where you would be is small, then perhaps you don't need so much. But if the gap is quite big, get the support that you need. I'm such a believer in getting support. I was really messed up in my childhood. There's a video on the Life Talent page about my childhood if you're interested in knowing about my history. And I did years of therapy and years of different sorts of groups, and I've become happier and happier and happier throughout my life. I just think, isn't it great? You pay someone and they listen to you, and they listen to you well. What can be better than that? The other thing about ongoing groups and therapy groups and those sorts of things is that that you can build a group of people who support you and sponsor you even when that group is over. That's so sweet, Jackie. It's so great to get your comment. Lovely to have you here. I've noticed you a few times recently on these calls. It's great to have you here. Actually, you mentioned NLP, but for me the term NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, stands for Naturally Loving Person. So someone who sits with you and really gives you quality attention, really good presence, and opens their heart and says, yes, I believe in you. That just in itself, without anything more than that, is powerful and healing. Someone who's relating and connected and holding the space for you with a loving heart, believing in you, is just that in itself is incredibly healing. So, and in fact, just thinking of people who believe in you like that is healing. But from this particular comment, just say, have more people in your life who believe in you, and spend more time with those people, and have more of that sort of resourceful interaction in your life. That's for everybody on this call. So I think I've come to the end of the call, unless there are any questions that you have. This is such an important part of the journey. A lot of life talent, a lot of making the most of your life is about focusing on your life calling, your vision, your psychological resources, which is all the good experiences of your life and how they make you feel confident about your life, and all the positive, and your strengths and your talents and your abilities, all the great stuff about you and all the great experiences of your life. That's one half of the business of fulfilling your potential in life. The other half of the business of fulfilling your potential in life is to take your foot off the brake. If that's the good stuff is the accelerator in your life, the disempowering beliefs is your foot on the brake. Taking your foot off the brake will releases you to move forward in your life. And to some extent, it's relatively easy to do the positive stuff. You know, people don't necessarily know how to do it very well, but you know, you can learn a lot about that from doing online seminars and reading books, and you know, there are ways you can. That's not the hard part. The hard part is actually facing into the difficulty and transforming and healing the difficulty in your life and moving forward in your life, making sure that you really have the positive beliefs that you need. Great to have you on the call today. If you've got any questions, message me or put a comment in beneath it. I'll look at the videos regularly. Email me. You can call me actually. If you go to my website, you can book a time to speak to me on the phone, just through clicking on the website. Actually, I'll put a link into the bottom of the video with a sort of clever button that takes you to my calendar, and then you just book time in my calendar, and then we magically end up on a phone call. And I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, which is about how small changes how small changes can change your life. Small new behaviors can change your life. I said that there were two important things, which is making the most of yourself and dealing with what holds you back. But there are two other important elements, and the third element actually is taking action. You know, it's not enough to sit here and think about it. How can you take small steps in your life that help you to change, whether it's to change your level of self-belief or to make practical physical changes in your life, or to experiment and try things out. And the fourth dimension of life talent is actually to do with noticing the beauty of life itself, nature itself. It's more of a being type of principle, that with all the struggle and difficulty of life, let's sometimes just look at the sky, look at the clouds, look in the eyes of small children. We're not really talking about that in this series, series of 4 seminars, but it's one of the underlying principles in my work. Great to talk to you today, and I look forward to being with you again tomorrow. Let me know if there's any questions I can answer. Thanks so much. Take care.